Hey everyone, just want to take a moment to discuss on the topic of conscious AI. I know there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not AI is conscious. I would have to state that it is not, nor will it be anytime soon. AI, in order to become quote unquote conscious, to possess consciousness, as far as I can tell through the studies I've been conducting over the years on consciousness, and I'm actually in the process of developing a model of consciousness that has not previously been done before, that deals with currently 5 separate levels that are built up on top of each other, beginning from the subatomic realm, quantum realm, through DNA genetics and sensory modalities, neuroanatomical features, including hemispheric differentiation, as well as symbolic thought. To a certain degree, AI currently possesses somewhat a symbolic thought. So the higher level, it's actually starting at the higher end of the hierarchy of consciousness, and so it's a reversal of what humans and life in general evolved naturally from. We evolved from the ground up, fundamental of the quantum field, up through, like I said, genetics, and to sensory modalities, and the evolution and increased size of the brain, neuroanatomical features, separations of the hemispheres to be able to perceive things in different fashions that provide a whole picture, a whole perception of reality. And then we generated quote unquote symbolic thought through language, writing, art, and so on and so forth. And AI currently only possesses one of those. It's at the upper end. So starting from the top going down, it would, in order for AI to truly become conscious, I believe, would necessitate a first integrating, synthesizing AI with quantum computing, which they're currently experimenting with. They actually did some of the fundamental components of quantum computing and integrated it with AI, and it worked, operated at a high-end level in comparison to its general functions. The next thing will be that it will need to be integrated with robotics, and not just robotics, but it will need some type of synthetic artificial brain to be able to function properly. And it will also necessitate artificial synthetic sensory modalities that are connected with the brain to be able to gather data from its environment, that ultimately working through the brain and nervous system to generate perception, which is a hallmark feature of consciousness itself. So quantum computing, sensory modalities, artificial synthetic sensory modalities in robotics, as well as a artificial synthetic nervous system and neuroanatomical features, as well as in one form or another, having hemispheric differentiation features of that integrated within that system to be able to generate quote unquote consciousness. And even then, it's going to be, I think, extraordinarily difficult. I think quantum computing is going to be one of the next steps. Of course, right now they're integrating AI with robotics as well. So that's the testing field. But I think quantum computing will provide AI with the intelligence needed to know the direction in which it should go to be able to produce a conscious AI humanoid. With that said, of course, it's not without its repercussions experimenting with such endeavors. As you can tell, as I spoke about before, like the biblical prophecy perhaps being true, some type of future event where the image of the beast is provided with consciousness, which appears to be AI or some robotic feature that's able to control humanity to a certain degree, especially through perhaps smart cities, entrance into smart cities, and the like. So, but I believe we're quite a bit a ways off from an actual conscious AI entity. Consciousness is extraordinarily complex, and that's to also, my model does not involve metaphysics. I'm trying to approach it in strictly an empirical manner. I believe it's an evolved feature of reality. And no, that's not to devalue the notion that perhaps this universe, as I've said time and time again in multiple of my videos, is not an intelligent design. And perhaps, as far as we can tell, Donald Hoffman has pointed this out as well, is that, quantum physics, even though it's as far as the most fundamental feature, facet of reality that that we have grasped, does not appear to be fundamental. So perhaps there is higher dimensional realms or something of that sort that transcend this reality that's actually the true fundamental essence of reality, which of course would link to Christianity and religion as a whole, and perhaps consciousness is tied into that. But it has, I believe, it is, regardless, is an evolving system, and once it evolves, if it is, let's say, a medical physical phenomenon, it either way emerges into this reality through evolutionary means, developmental means. So it develops over the course of time, and we can see that. You can look back through the evolution, human evolution, and kind of see intelligence and consciousness evolve and really take off in the Upper Paleolithic, and beginning about 50,000 years ago with artwork and symbolic expression. And so, and of course, it just increasingly became more complex as it went about. And so, I believe it's the evolving system. And although it may actually have somewhat of a relationship with metaphysical properties, so to speak, and perhaps that's true. And if it is, I believe it is. And perhaps that's what the Bible means as well. If the Bible is true and Christianity is true, that the souls themselves are an evolved consciousness that is, that has a relationship, metaphysical relationship with that more fundamental essence of reality. It just emerges through evolutionary means. And as I said before, and Gerald Schroeder had pointed this out in his book, Science of God, that the way in which we perceive the evolutionary time frame, we look at, the past, let's say, at least 550 million years of complex life forms being such a long time. But looking at it outside of space-time, it is actually more or less a very short period of time. So correlating with those 6 days of Genesis. And I'm not going to go into it here, trying to make the video somewhat at least short and apprehendable. But you can go on and check some of my other videos out where I discuss on that very topic. So AI conscious, I do not believe so at all. I think it will take probably another 5-10 years through the perfecting of quantum computing. And I think quantum computing is going to be fundamental and is a fundamental property of consciousness, and will be for artificial intelligence as well. But even for human consciousness, I believe that is a fundamental property, and as well as genetics, which is a coding process, which AI has its own coding process. And then it will necessitate sensory modalities, nervous system, and which includes neuroanatomical features, as well as the hemispheric differentiation, to be able to ultimately gather outside environmental elements, information, to produce perception, which is also a very prominent feature of consciousness itself, is us to be able to perceive the world, to feel it, to interact with it, and interact with one another. And that's done through sensory modalities, and the nervous system and hormones and our brains and the neuroanatomical function of the brain. And so hope this helped. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. God bless.